Good morning, students. In continuation with the chapter Government Budget, where in my previous session I've explained you the objectives of government budget. So today we will be doing the structure of the budget, or you can also say the components of the budget. Well, children, budget has two broad components, which are budget receipts and budget expenditure. Now when we talk about budget receipts, this budget receipts are been further classified to be as a revenue receipts and capital receipts, whereas when we talk about budget expenditure, which has been further classified to be as revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. So today in this session we will be doing budget receipts. So children, when we talk about the budget receipts, these are those receipts which actually refer to the estimated money receipts of the government from all sources during a particular financial year, or you can say during a fiscal year. That means budget receipts include all that money receipts or the revenue of the government which government collects from all the sources during a particular year. So this budget receipt has been further classified as revenue receipts and capital receipts. Now we'll talk about the revenue receipts first. When we talk about the revenue receipts, children, as you know, when we talk about revenue is related with money. So all such money receipts of the government are called revenue receipts, which actually possesses two different characteristics, which are, first, these receipts do not create any kind of a liability for the government. Means that revenue receipts, they do not create any liability for the government. For example, if we talk about, say, a tax receipt. Tax receipt is a tax revenue which has been collected by the government from all other sources. So it's a one-sided payment which we are doing to the government, and it's a compulsory payment. So over here it does not carry any sort of a liability for the government, because it's the government who's getting the revenue from the people. Secondly, revenue receipts do not cause any sort of reduction in assets of the government. That means revenue receipts are those receipts which do not create any liability, nor they reduce the assets of the government. So you can say these are those money receipts which do not create any liability for the government, as well as do not lead to reduction in assets of the government. Now over here, these revenue receipts are broadly classified as tax receipts and non-tax receipts. You can say, let's say, when we talk about the tax revenue or non-tax revenue. So if we talk about the tax receipts, so children, you all are familiar with the tax. You all know it's a compulsory payment which we do, isn't it? So a tax is a compulsory payment to the government by the household, firms or other institutional units. That means a taxpayer cannot expect any service or benefit from the government in return. That means it's a compulsory amount which we are supposed to pay to the government, and we cannot expect any sort of a return from the government. Now these taxes have been broadly classified to be as a tax, that is direct tax and indirect tax. Now when we talk about a direct tax, children, these are, let's say, apart from this direct and indirect tax, we have a progressive and regressive tax, then we have a value added and specific tax, and of course direct tax and indirect tax. Now when we talk about progressive and regressive tax, what are these? Children, when we talk of progressive, the word progressive somehow is conveying a message that it's a tax which is said to be progressive when the rate of tax increases with the increase in income. That means if the income of a person increases, then the rate of the tax, it also increases. So somehow we can say it's a burden of tax on the rich people and let's say very less on the poor people. For example, if we say that there is a tax rate of 10% on income between 2 to 5 lakh, then let's say it is around 15% of income between 5 to 10 lakh and so on. That means the tax rate is level on the income increase. That means it's a tax which has been levied on the people who have more income, means on the rich class people. Next we have a regressive tax. Now this tax is a tax which causes a greater burden, or I'll say a real burden, on the poor than the rich. The reason, because if a person, let's say, earns around 1 lakh rupees monthly and pays a 10% income tax, so let's say 10% of 1 lakh, it comes to 10,000. So still the person has around 90,000 per money which he can use it, isn't it, and can easily, let's say, spend a whole of the month. But what about a person, let's say, who earns a monthly income of rupees 5,000, and on 5,000 if he has to pay a regressive tax of 10%, that comes to almost 500 rupees. Then this might be a big problem for a person who is not earning a very good amount of an income, or the people who are poor or middle class people. Now they have to somewhere cut in their essential consumption, and that could be a big problem. So this kind of taxation is good for the rich people but not for the poor, because for poor it causes a real burden than the rich. Now next comes the value added tax, which is nowadays very familiar. You can say now we do not have value added tax, but at the same time we have GST. GST, where we say it's a tax which has been levied or which has been put on every stage of the production. So this is a GST, you can say. A specific tax is that tax which is levied on a commodity on the basis of the unit, size or weight, and that is why it is called specific tax. Means it has been levied only on a particular commodities according to their weight, size or unit. Then we have a direct tax. You all are familiar with that because your parents might be paying it, your father might be paying it, a tax which has been imposed actually on the income of a person, which is known as income tax, isn't it? This tax is actually a final burden which is on a person. Now this tax is imposed on income of the person and he himself bears this burden. Now this burden of income tax cannot be shifted to any other person. So income tax, corporation tax, gift tax, wealth tax, all are the examples of direct tax. Then we come towards the indirect tax. Indirect tax is a final burden which can be shifted to the other person, like a GST, very good example. It is a tax which the producer they shifts on the consumer. Now they are supposed to pay this tax to the government, but children, what they do? They charge this tax from the buyer and by adding it to the price of goods sold. So actually they have shifted the burden on the consumers. Then comes the non-tax receipt, means a non-tax revenue. These are those receipts which arise from other sources apart from the taxes. Means these are the fees which goes to the government, not in the form of a taxes, but in return of a certain kind of a work. Like first you can say a fee. A fee is a payment to the government for the service they render to the people. A fee could be in any form. It could be a land registration fee or a birth registration fee or a birth registration or death registration or passport fee, court fee and so on. Now next could be a, let's say, fine. Fine are those payments which are made by the law breakers and they have to pay to the government. Like you all know, it's compulsory that while you are driving two-wheeler you are supposed to wear helmet, but many of the children, they don't wear, isn't it? There are many people. So if they do not wear, then there is a punishment of breaking the laws, and the punishment is you have to pay a certain amount of a fine which goes to the people. Then is cheat. Cheat is very important, children. Some people, they die leaving their property without a legal heir. Means they die without leaving a legal heir that who's going to take their property after they die. So the government makes a revenue of it. So government, what does they do? they take out a revenue of it and it's called a escheat. Then we have a special assessment. Special assessment means, children, that you might be having a house somewhere which is at the backward area, and with the passage of time, let's say the property around your house is being appreciated due to some development activities of the government. So as a result, due to the construction of road or because of the sewage system, the value of your property increases. It appreciates automatically because lot of facilities being available around your house. So what the government do? The government may recover a part of its development expenditure from the owner of such property by way of special assessment. Then comes income from public enterprise, means several enterprises are owned by the government, like Indian Railways, Nangal factory, fertilizer factory, then Bhilai steel plants, so on. So profit of these enterprises are a source of a revenue for the government, means a part of this profit goes to the government as a revenue. Then income from the sale of spectrum like 2G or 3G. We all are familiar with 2G, 3G. Nowadays we have 4G. So whatever income from the sale of this spectrum emerge, then a certain amount of a source goes to the government as a non-tax receipts. And then we have grants and donation. Grants are also a source of government revenue. It is very common for the people who offer donations and grants to the government. Specifically when we have some natural calamities like earthquake or a flood or a famine or any other problem. So whatever grants or donation that is being provided by some of the people, so such grants and donation is also a part of a revenue of the government. Of course, a non-tax revenue. That is why we call it a non-tax receipts. Thank you. Good morning.